welcome to UP.TV. Today we're looking at the 5 steps to get more app downloads. My name is Graham Brown. I'm joined by Stefan Rust from Exicon Global. Stefan, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks Graham.
Excellent. Piece of data for us to digest first, Stefan, from Pew Research Center. 47% of all apps available on Google Play were downloaded and installed less than 500 times. So if you're a mobile app entrepreneur, that means attention is your biggest cost. And the biggest problem is that they're so busy developing the best app possible that they don't have time to do the marketing and distribution. But that makes the app. But the good news is that today we're going to look at 5 steps that you can take to address that. And you only need to get 500 installs to get into the top 50% of that app store. So how do you do that? Let's start at the top. The 5 steps that you need to take to get more app downloads. Take it away, Stefan.
Thanks, Graham. So at Exicon, we help companies automate the app process where we have a workflow that takes you through the build, the manage, and then the promote. And what we find is a lot of investment goes into the build and then the managing, but then very little into the promote, or the promote comes a bit too late. And so we found 5 core things that have really stood out in that process. One is be where your app user is, the naming associated with the app, the screenshots associated with the app, so the visual descriptions, then the textual description or editorial descriptions and categorization of your app inside the App Store, and lastly, the rating and reviews. Those are 5 elements that are going to help you drive downloads for your apps.
Let's talk about the first step. Be where your users are.
Yeah.
There's 2 elements to this, Stefan, right? There is on the one hand, the app stores, and on the other, where your users hang out, the communities where you can find them. On the App Store side, let's look at that first. I'm sure a lot of mobile app entrepreneurs probably think that getting their app onto iTunes and Google Play Store is enough. Is that the case? And if not, what do they need to be doing about it?
So if you're on the Apple Store, I'd say yes. If you're in the Android world, I'd say no. There are many more stores out there in many different countries, on many different devices. You need to be available on all of those app stores. One of the products that we've built on our app board is the ability to enable our customers to immediately distribute onto multiple app stores as they're relevant to the Android platform. Now, you would not have thought that getting your Android app onto a Windows app store would really drive traffic, would you? But Windows now actually supports Android's apps. If you're in Russia, have you heard of the Yandex app store? Yandex is one of the largest, it's the Google of Russia. They have their own app store. Being onto that app store would really be helpful. If you're in Africa, you want to get onto the Opera app store. In China, 91.com. Wanduja, another app store, an independent large app store in China. So it's just a number of different app stores that are out there that are country specific. If you're on Samsung, Samsung has their own app store and they promote apps to Samsung users. So if you get a good relationship with Samsung, Samsung might even promote your app to their users, which gives you downloads. And I think the most important thing as an appreneur when you're starting off is every user counts in the first stages of your go-to-market.
Right. Because every user has the ability to influence another user, right? And they can go back to any one of those app stores that you mentioned and influence somebody to download an app or maybe even leave a review. And we'll talk about reviews later on. We haven't talked about Amazon yet. Is that an important player in the App Store world?
Definitely, increasingly so. They will even actually subsidize some of the development work. They've got a lot of campaigns going on in terms of supporting developers with their app builds, their app services, to drive traffic to their app stores and making their app stores relevant in that world. They have their own search technology, A9, which they use to help them with the discoverability of apps on their app store. They have a lot of back-end services that they provide to their app developers or your app developers if you're an appreneur using their app store. So they'll give you rating and reviews automated. You can do notifications automated, so you don't need to build the back-end service of that. As an appreneur, saves you cost, time, and is of value because they will help drive downloads for you as well. We find that every additional app store you load your app onto can drive an extra 20% increase in downloads.
Great. Let's talk then about the other aspect of being where your users are, is being in the communities, tapping the communities where your users hang out. Often people turn to social media for this. What is working right now in terms of driving people to installs?
So one of the more popular features is this notion of what they call cost per install, where companies like Facebook, Twitter, and a number of other ones are providing the ability to deep link an advertising campaign on their app or in their web pages straight to the download page in an app store.
Right. This is deep linking, and that means what exactly compared to what was done beforehand?
Well, before they would just link you to the app store. What they can do now is, in this case, they can basically open up the App Store app on your mobile phone. So it loads the app is loaded, and it loads to that given page which you had clicked on. Not to the general App Store login again, and oh, you get the main menu, then you need to go search again to find the right app. So it just reduces the number of clicks and links to get straight to the page where you can download right away.
Right. And as we know, with any internet marketing, every single extra click has a significant drop-off, right? So even to reduce one extra click, you could see your downloads increase by 4 or 5 times.
And now add a 4 square inch screen to that, and you're talking, each click on steroids will drive downloads, right? I mean, each click reduction drives downloads to a significant increase to the web world.
Okay, so which social media supports this kind of deep linking at the moment?
So the 2 big ones really do. Google Plus does now as well. So all the major websites generally have really caught on to this bandwagon. It was really driven by Facebook and Twitter that really launched this and pushed this out in the early days. And it was a big revenue generator for Twitter in the early days as well.
Okay. Do I need to do anything extra as an appreneur to enable this, or can I go straight into Facebook and set it up?
I mean, you can set it up in Facebook, yeah. I mean, you have a number of Facebook advertising options, so you can choose in-app app installs, and then you'll get all the set of features, you give them the links, you set it up accordingly, and you pay per install.
Okay, let's talk about discoverability then, Stefan. And we need to talk about naming and descriptions, the key tools by which users will discover your app for the first time. What do we need to know about names and descriptions?
So before we go to those elements, I just wanted to highlight that before you start spending money on promoting your app and trying to drive downloads, or in parallel as you're learning about, it's really important to get the naming, the other 4 elements we talked about earlier right? The naming, the screenshots, the categories and descriptions, and then lastly the reviews. The reviews, there's nothing much you can do about, but the 3 next ones, the naming, the shots, the category and descriptions, getting those up front is really important. And the naming, it's just making sure you're choosing the right name for your app so that it is discoverable. It is a bit keyword search as well. And the naming's not only important in the title of your app, it's also important in everywhere you're going to be placing it, in terms of the title, the description, the publishing name. You want to make sure you get that naming right and you get it consistent across all the different stores that you publish it onto.
Right. I'm surprised to see how inconsistent some of the naming is. People are searching for that app, but it comes under different names and it doesn't have what it turns out to be on a different store and so on. It's surprising that people can overlook this, and I wonder why that's the case.
But you might also find they're not only searching for that app, they're also searching for, they may be searching for the publisher, because I don't know who actually did that. I want to look for an app from Google, or I want to look at an app from House. House have it named after them, but they may have 4 or 5 apps, and I'm looking for that speciality app as it relates to lighting, not the general furniture app or whatever it might be.
Right.
So all of those elements are just important and play into the search equation, if you will.
Now, you mentioned keyword research.
Yep.
Is Google AdWords tool a good place to start with your keyword research? Because some people may already be familiar with that.
I would definitely take that experience with you and use that. Definitely a critical element in choosing keywords, yes.
So does any amount of that traffic convert if somebody's not actually searching for an app, but they may actually be searching for something like weight loss, or they may be searching for cycling tips, etc., or recipes? Do people actually then go into apps? Do we know anything about that sort of conversion from people who are just browsing the internet and then sort of move into the app world?
Yeah, so one of the biggest categories is people just browse the app stores. So one of it's discoverability is associated with browsing the app stores. It's searching through, I'm looking for weight loss. So how do you find out about your weight loss app? If you have the title of your app called weight loss app, and then in the description you're dropping in weight loss, then it's most likely you will move up in the discoverability associated with weight loss apps. Ranking does come into it, so where you're ranked in terms of number of downloads, but just playing with the keywords is really important, and using the descriptions associated is important. One example might be, even if you just search Airbnb, you'll see the first app that might pop up is Airbnb, but the second one or the third one or the fourth one, I can guarantee you, has nothing to do with Airbnb, has nothing to do with room rental. They've just got in their description Airbnb.
Right. Is it legit to put competitor tags in your description?
That's one other thing to do. If you look at, so we work with some insurance companies, right? And if you look at some of the insurance companies, they tag their app based on their competitors.
Right.
So Aegeus will use Prudential. And so whenever you search Prudential on the App Store, you'll see Aegeus apps.
So now that the users search for you and they found you, they're going to click through to your app. The first thing they're going to see is the visual information, which is your screenshots. What do we need to know about screenshots so we can get more app downloads?
Big pictures, screenshots of the display only. We do not want to see the phone. Those are 2 key things I would advise. Google Play allows for videos. So if you have a video that describes the app, keep it really short, 30 seconds, nothing too long, because people won't stay longer than 30 seconds. But just give a lot of images of what they will discover inside the app.
What doesn't work on screenshots? Are there things that app entrepreneurs are doing which, really detract from the value of the app?
They want to show the picture of the phone in there, lots of details and all the features. So they zoom in on 3 or 4 features that it has in the app, but you don't actually see what the whole screen is. And if you think about it, the 4 square inch screen, I can capture the whole 4 square inch screen in my eye, and I'm less likely just to look at the top left corner of the screen. So don't show me tabs, show me the whole screen and the whole display.
Right, and use every screenshot available. How many do you get on these stores?
Some stores, so Amazon is great, right? So Amazon, for example, gives you unlimited word usage, gives unlimited screens, so you have a lot of capabilities on the Amazon App Store, which you don't have on Google Play. But generally, you don't need to have more than 5, 6 screenshots. I think, up to 8. I wouldn't go more than 8. And like I said, if you have a video, I think the video goes well as well.
Okay. Category is pretty important, right? You've got to get it into the right category. If you've got a game, let's say you've got a tower defense game, shove it in the games category, right? Is that the right thing to do? What do you need to know about that?
Yeah, you've got games, so you want to put it in the games category, but then you have subcategories like racing games, right? So if you've got a racing game, make sure you have it in the racing game category. I think choosing your category is really important, and the more specific you can be, the less likely you are to be amongst. So in games category, you may have 600,000 games in the App Store. In racing games, you may only have 100,000. So all of a sudden, your market, the discoverability has increased significantly for people who are searching racing games.
Right.
So you and then the likelihood of you moving up the ranking. So if there are 100,000 in there and you've hit 500 installs, maybe you're not necessarily in the 50,000 rank already. You're already in the 20,000 rank, because in the racing games category, anyway. So you're just doing the maths, and you're just working off the maths of the likelihood of being discovered.
So it's better to be in a higher rank on a smaller niche than in a lower rank on a bigger, more general category, right?
I would recommend that in the beginning, and then you can sort of try and expand into a more general case.
Something we talked about before, I think is an important issue to bring to bear, and that's a mistake that people may make, is changing categories. Now, this is something that you can do if you're an Amazon publisher of ebooks, but when it comes to app stores, it's a different thing entirely, right? What's the issue with changing categories?
I think if you've got 3 downloads, then I think the risk of changing categories is less. But if you're in the top 10 or top 20 in a category, you want to stay there, because that's what's helping you drive downloads and will continue the success of downloads of your app. And you do not want to disrupt that. You may want to submit again through a different category, but I wouldn't change the category that you're in. You may even create a specialist app or a breakout app based on your engagement statistics to go into a different category. But if you're in the top 10 or top 20 ranking, you want to try and get up into the top 10, because if you're in the top 10, that's when you drive downloads. And staying up there is a lot easier than working your way up there.
Step 5, ratings and reviews. Now, this is critical for any app on the App Store. How does ratings and reviews impact the amount of downloads you have, first off, and then let's talk about how we can actually get ratings and reviews. First up, the impact of rating reviews on people's willingness to download your app. What do we know?
2 things. I mean, rating and reviews are critical to the success of your app, mainly because you've had other people give a comment to your application. Ideally, 5 stars is better than 2 stars or 1 star. I think don't get scared if you get 2 or 1 stars, because that's a great opportunity to capture that user and allow and give you feedback on how to improve the app. The critical element there is to fix it fast. So if you get a 1-star review because it's crashing all the time, fix it fast, tell your users you fixed it fast, give them a link where they can download the new version, and get them to review and rate the new version, because it's all of a sudden a lot better and how quick you responded to it. Right. The second element around reviews is there are reviews inside the App Store, and there are also reviews outside the App Store. So there are a number of app directories that review a lot of apps that are out there. You want them to review the apps as well. So not just then on the App Store, also out in other directories or by analysts or journalists that are reviewing the apps. And they'll generally go to the App Store and see apps that have either moved up the ranking or have got 5-star ratings. And the way to drive ratings is twofold. One is you can do it either in the app itself, or you can rate the apps in the App Store. Obviously, rating the app in the apps itself is a lot easier for the user, and it has a standard pop-up that you get. Rate this app, yes or no. If they hit yes, then they give you 5 stars. That's immediately recorded on the App Store, which allows for less friction and less conversion loss.
Again, so getting people to rate your app within the app is the most important thing. But when it comes to the actual ratings, can somebody rate your app more than once? Once on an older version and once again on a new version?
You can change your rating.
Okay. Based on a new install of an updated version?
Yeah, I mean that you can change the rating as it relates to the app that you have installed. If you have upgraded your version, your app, you will be rating that version that you have downloaded just now. But if you have an app and you have rated it and you haven't changed anything to it, but you've now all of a sudden you think it's better, you can go back and change that rating to a 3-star.
Right, so here's an interesting scenario where somebody has given you a 1-star rating because there's a bug in your code. You update that, release the update. Can that person then, knowing that you've updated it, go back and give you a 5-star review on the new version?
Yes.
Right, so there's a good enough reason to get people engaged in the ongoing development of your product, and you can turn a 1-star rating into a 5-star or improve it by listening to what people are doing and what they're rating on the App Store, right?
Definitely. And you want that, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you get 5-star ratings, other people might be aware of it. The more people that rate and review your apps, the more likely you're going to drive downloads. And what increases downloads is if friends have downloaded it. So again, connecting through social media is another important element to help drive the rating and reviews. In some of these rating and reviews, you can also share the rating and reviews into social media.
I see as well. I mean, if I look at Google Play Store, I'll see people in my Google Plus circle who have downloaded apps, right? How can you... That seems to have a good way of creating social proof for your app. How can you go about getting those kind of app reviews for your app from people within your Google Plus circle?
My trick would be more to find the niche, right? So I've launched an app in a given niche. I will try and find the relevant constituents or key opinion leaders in that niche and try to get them to review it. To me, I think that is going to be the best way. And it's finding a unique approach that will appeal to that key opinion leader, because those key opinion leaders are going to be approached from all different angles all the time. Review my app, check this out, do this for me, can you help review this? It's finding a unique approach by putting yourself in their shoes and being, I suppose, and I don't know what, being, understanding what they would be looking for in this app and why your app is unique and why they would be appealed to download, what would appeal to them to download that app, test it out, and then rate and review it.